All right, excellent. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, November 7th, 2022 meeting of the Green Bay Plan Commission. We will start with a roll call. Chair Lisa Hanson, present. Vice Chair Jacob Miller.
Present.
Alder Jim Hutchinson.
Present.
Commissioner Cindy Bremer.
Present.
Commissioner Darius Daniels.
Present.
Commissioner Ken Ravinsky.
Present.
And Commissioner Michael Paradic.
Present.
All right, moving on to the approval of the agenda for the November 7th, 2022 meeting of the Green Bay Plan Commission. And the applicant has asked to hold items 2 and 3. So we will not be going over those 2 items at this time.
Move to approve. Do we need to amend that on the agenda?
Yes, you would need to make a motion and approve it, and that would be to the December 12th Plan Commission meeting.
Okay, so refer.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, you're cutting out a little bit. Did you say that the applicant asked to remove items 2 and 3?
They asked to hold it until the December 12th meeting.
Thank you.
So we want to move to approve by holding items 2 and 3, with holding items 2 and 3.
Correct.
That'd be the motion.
Second.
A motion by Vice Chair Miller, a second by Alder Hutchinson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and then moving on to the approval of minutes. Approval of the minutes from the October 24th, 2022 meeting of the Green Bay Plan Commission.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ravinsky and a second by Commissioner Paradic. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. And then moving on to regular business. Item number 1, communication from Alderperson Stoyer. Refer to staff to study and report on status of senior housing in the city of Green Bay.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, this is a communication from Alder Stoyer, and we would recommend you just refer that to staff.
Move to recommend to refer to staff.
Second.
Motion by Vice Chair Miller and a second by Commissioner Ravinsky to refer to staff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and then that will be referred to staff.
Thank you.
And then skipping over items 2 and 3, moving on to item number 4, which is a public hearing. This public hearing has been properly posted and public notification has been published in the Press Times. The Plan Commission is interested in hearing public comments on the subject agenda items. We invite your comments and ask that after your name has been called, you state your address, whether you represent a group or association, whether you favor, oppose, or are only providing information in this matter, and your comments or concerns. We also ask that you confine your testimony to facts related to the proposal at hand and avoid repetitive testimony. Questions may be asked during the public hearing, but will not be answered until the upcoming actionable item. You must be recognized by the Plan Commission in order to speak, and please address your comments to the chair. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. To speak during this public hearing, you may unmute yourself at the bottom of the screen, use the raise hand function on Zoom, physically raise your hand if you are using the video feature, or press *6 to unmute yourself if you are calling in. We will now open the public hearing on item number 4, public hearing on a request for a conditional use permit to allow automobile salvage operations at 1330 Tomlin Street, submitted by Robert Theodore and Eric Burrows, petitioner, Sal B's Scrap Metals on Velp, LLC, property owner.
Would you like me to give a
brief overview? That would be
Okay.
fabulous.
So this is the location of the site itself. It's on the east side of Tomlin Street, just north of Velp Avenue. The last property on the east side before it terminates into the rail yard, Chicago Northwestern, or excuse me, the Canadian National Rail Yard. It's about a 14-acre site. And the petitioner is requesting to use the site for auto salvage and metal scrap salvage, which requires a conditional use permit.
Thank you, Dave. So now we are looking to hear from people who are interested to speak in favor, in opposition, or providing information only during this public hearing.
I think it's all commissioners and staffs.
Is it? Okay, all right, I don't see that. So.
Yep.
Is there anyone wishing to speak? Is there anyone wishing to speak? Is there anyone wishing to speak? Let the record reflect that no one else has come forward, and this public hearing is now closed. Moving on to the corresponding actionable item, item number 5, consideration with possible action on the request for a conditional use permit to allow automobile salvage operations at 1330 Tomlin Street, submitted by Robert Theodore and Eric Burrows, petitioner, Sal B's Scrap Metals on Velp LLC, property owner.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. A little more detail now that we're in the action item. So again, I have the image up on the screen that is the site itself. So again, this is a request for conditional use permit really for the auto salvage operations. The metal scrapping operations is a permitted use in this district. So this property itself, let me see if I can get down, well, let me kind of go through this. So this is the site itself. It was the former site of a Enviro tire recycling and salvage operation. And I'll zoom in a little bit closer here. So you can kind of see at this time, there was some trailer storage in the back and some other storage in the back. This is where they did their tire recycling and then a lot of their truck scales. The site itself has a 2,700 square foot office building, a 12,000 square foot warehouse or shop, and a real small 500 square foot trailer office that goes with the scale itself. The site has pretty much been cleared of all the debris, or I shouldn't say debris, but salvage materials, and it's been vacant for a little while. The Burrows, who own the metal salvage on 1156 Velp, which, if you remember, a couple of years ago was approved for just metal salvage, but not automobile salvage. They have purchased this site, and if you read in their application material, part of it was the size of the site, but also because they're in an area where the city wasn't very keen to have them, and they received some complaints. When this site came up for sale, they purchased it, and they plan to move the operations from the Velp Avenue site over to this site itself. Let me see, the site itself, you can see, is only about 26% impervious surface. So about almost 75% is green space. And of that, a good portion of that, about half, a little less than half, is wetlands within this area. So it kind of limits the operations. To the north, you can see the rail operations. To the south is mainly warehousing and some manufacturing. Across the street to the west is some warehousing and another automobile salvage business. Then to the east is actually, kind of off the screen here, is like a transport or truck trailer storage, outdoor storage area. So they, again, are proposing to relocate those operations here. This is a picture of the site looking from the south. So you can see this is that 12,000 square foot warehouse. There's some other buildings around here. This is the warehousing across the street. You can't quite see the auto salvage. Oops. This is looking at it from the north. So this is sort of their larger yard. This is that salvage, the auto salvage that's across the street. And you can see the 12,000 square foot warehouse kind of in the distance here. And this is the end of the terminus of Tomlin Street. As I had mentioned before, the site itself, the future land use shows this as industrial. It does show the wetlands and water, but that is because it's of the wetlands location there. But otherwise, it's all a general industrial recommended future land use. I will point out on the front of Velp, the frontage of Velp is shown as commercial. This is off-site, but it is directly adjacent to the south, just at the corner. And the Velp Avenue plan actually takes this area to the south as a transformative site. to be redeveloped for residential, retail, commercial, but in the back area, it does continue to recommend industrial uses. The zoning is general industrial zoning, as is pretty much the zoning in all directions. And this is sort of their site plan that they have submitted with their application itself. And I'll kind of highlight some of the stuff they have going. So they have a detention pond here in the northwest corner. They're going to be improving a drainage ditch that leads to that pond. These little yellow triangles are drains or inlets. And then the formal site itself, they're really not doing any major improvements to the site. They are going to fence off the full south lot line. They plan to remove, with a heavy vinyl tarp, which you can see in the pictures on Tomlin right now, they're going to remove the small trailer office here next to the scale. But beyond that, they're really not going to do much else. These blue lines show the drainage on the site. And I'll kind of go from west to east. So you can see all these little dots on the warehouse itself. Those are all items that you do when you're removing gas and stuff from cars. So that would all be done inside. The storage of that material would be inside the warehouse itself. This yellow area is where customers during hours of operation would drop off their vehicles, because this would be a retail auto salvage again. As you go further to the east, this orange area would be where the metal scrap piles are going to be located. So the crushed cars and other scrap metal would be there. And then if you go way down the drive to the far eastern portion, that is basically where they're going to be holding their trailers, the lugger boxes, which are boxes where people throw in scrap metal, and those types of items, which is kind of historically what it has been used, except it was rubber scrap rather than metal scrap. So very similar to the previous uses. Again, as I had mentioned, they do plan to relocate their operations, which is actually only about a quarter of a mile to the east, to this site. They are going to remove that trailer office. They're going to upgrade the fence. They're going to add locked gates, security lighting, and cameras. They are going to have one above-grade diesel fuel tank, and then storage of quite a few different machines necessary for their operations. So forklifts, skid steers, that type of thing. So although, let's see what I have next. So the seven standards for your CUP were not in your staff report, and I just kind of threw them in here. I won't read them all. I know you're all very familiar with them. Staff looked at all of these, and we feel that they meet, this use at this location meets all of these standards. And I'll go back to the site plan quick. So sort of things, when staff reviewed this, obviously auto salvage and metal salvage is often not the most desirable use. However, at this location, it is very, very appropriate. It is deep within a general industrial district. It is surrounded by similar uses, including auto salvage, directly across the street. It is not visible from any residential areas or Velp Avenue itself. It is near a highway interchange, which is useful for them. It is at the end of a dead-end right-of-way, which minimizes any type of traffic impacts. And as I had mentioned a couple times, the operations require very little modification because that is what was going on there prior. So the site itself is pretty much set up for that type of use. So with all that in mind, staff is recommending support of the conditional use request with one condition: compliance with all regulations of the Green Bay Municipal Code not covered under the CUP, including site plan, review, and approval. We have notified Alder Stoyer and all the property owners within 400 feet because of the size of the property. We have not received any inquiries at all.
Okay. All right. Thank you, David.
Welcome.
Any questions for staff or discussion amongst commission?
Question.
I do have one. What is the, it looks to me as if they're only planning to use that 25% of the area that is permeable. Am I right about that, Dave?
Currently, yes, that's all they're proposing to use, exactly what's there right now.
And how does the size of this lot compare to their current lot?
This is about 3 times larger than their existing lot. And remember, on their existing lot, there's a portion of the front of the lot that they're not using, that's general industrial, because it's on Velp. So in this case, they would be able to use the entire amount of the usable area of the lot, again, without that impact. But it is about 3 times the size. I believe their existing lot's under 5 acres.
Thank you.
And I see the petitioner is on. Eric is on right now, Eric Rose.
Did you have a question, Alder?
Yeah. I noticed, I can't find where it is right now in our write-up, that the acreage is currently in the 100-year floodplain. Is there any, and apparently it will not be in the revised maps, is that right?
Correct.
Is there any concern about that? I mean, just from a, I don't know, a flooding perspective from the city's viewpoint?
There isn't, even if it remained in the floodplain, typically that has more issues when it's habitable space.
Right.
But as it's been developed prior, it's been operating in that floodplain. Also, metal salvage operation, including auto salvage, goes through a pretty extensive DNR review outside of the city review to get their permits as well. So we don't have concern with the floodplain being there. I mean, at this point, they're probably going to want to get, they may want to have flood insurance. However, we have seen the draft maps from FEMA, and if those maps are adopted, this would come out of the floodplain.
Okay, so they wouldn't technically have to get the insurance then?
Yeah, if they don't have a mortgage, they don't have to get the insurance even if they're in the floodplain.
Okay.
But we highly advise it. But once it's out, I mean, they can still get the insurance if they choose, but they wouldn't, they wouldn't have to even if they had a mortgage at that point.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now, what would that do for the
I-
buildable area, though? Since it's out of the floodplain, would they have access to build out more than what's currently the footprint?
They have to go through plan review.
Sure, they could expand, they would have to come through site plan review, and probably, if it's substantial, a conditional use permit amendment. I mean, if they're just adding a drive aisle or fixing up their pavement area now, that wouldn't be, we probably wouldn't bring them back for a CUP for that.
Okay.
However, if they were expanding their operations substantially, and we would sign on caution, that we would bring them back through. But out of their green space, which is pretty substantial, about 40% is wetlands. And those, they're going to have to stay away from the wetlands a certain
Regardless
distance,
of
yep,
the floodplain.
35 to 75 feet. So there may be some expansion possibilities, but it's going to be limited.
Okay. And they'd have to come through us if there was anything substantial
If-
anyway.
Correct. If they were substantially enlarging their operations, we'd bring them back through.
Okay.
Madam
Okay,
Chair,
go ahead, Commissioner.
I do have a question I'd like to address to the applicants if we could open the floor, so I would so move.
Second?
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Bremer, second by Vice Chair Miller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm very appreciative of the advantages for the city of this move. I'm wondering, are you planning to be using any materials or processes that you're, in this new location that you are not currently using in the Velp location?
Are you talking like auto bodies and stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah, this new location, we would be doing basically what I tried to propose before on Velp, over at this location, basically what my next door neighbor who is on the other side of the road would be doing. So yes, I would be doing a little bit more over there than what I am now because that's why I'm going for the permit. Because right now I'm not permitted to do automobiles on Velp. And again, we all know it's not the most perfect site for that, but back here, where it is now, I think would be.
Thank you, I appreciate knowing that.
Any other questions for the applicant? Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak, or is it just still us?
Looks like it.
Oh, I see.
Oh, there's one additional, but,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, well, I guess I would entertain a motion to close the floor then.
Motion to close the floor.
Second.
Second,
Motion by Vice Chair Miller and a second by Commissioner Ravinsky. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? That's hard.
Maybe
Knowing the voices down the line. Okay. All right.
I would make a motion to approve with the conditions set by city staff.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Ravinsky, second by Commissioner Daniels. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead with the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? All right, and then that will move forward to City Council. Is the next meeting the 15th? That's next Tuesday.
The week after, isn't it?
I think it's December,
Oh, no, December.
I think it's December 6th that would go to
Oh,
city
wow,
council.
There you go.
okay. All right, December 6th, okay. So then that will move forward then to City Council for December 6th.
Correct.
All right, informational, director's report.
The director is on his anniversary, so I have no report from the director.
All right, excellent, good report.
Thank you.
All right, discussion regarding in-person and hybrid meetings.
Correct, and I think we just wanted to put that on. Obviously, you are witnessing the hybrid meeting, so this room has been wired up, so we have a speaker up there in the ceiling and the camera over in the corner, and staff will always be here for the meeting itself.
Okay.
And as far as commissioners go, you can feel free to come here, which we love to see you. It's actually very nice to see everybody. Or you can still go virtual as well.
Okay.
So, and I think we're going to continue to do this in perpetuity, the hybrid style. So, yeah. I think we weren't sure we were going to be ready yet, so we were going to talk about it first, but
It's working.
it's working. Sorry, Sid.
I appreciate having the experience of it for those of you who have been in the room. However, I do want to make you aware the number of words we're missing. I motion in fact approval of this last item, and you clearly did not hear me, which is fine with me. We got it taken care of. But also, David, if you could put up the last screen where we have this conditions, I can read out loud to you what I heard. Compliance with regulations of the code not covered under the including standard site plan review approval.
Is it everyone?
It was for me as well. It was very hard to hear everything, especially when you were switching between people. So very difficult.
Okay, well, I'll let our IT department know, see if they can fix that up a little bit.
Because RDA has been doing this for a while now, right? In this room, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Have it? Yeah.
Well, it hasn't been
And
the same.
fortunately, that was an instance where we had the words right up there on the board, so Michael and I didn't have no difficulty knowing what you were saying, even though we couldn't hear it.
Okay, well, it might be just to talk a little slower, which I'm not used to. You know, but I'll let IT know that we're having a few issues with cutting out.
Your internet connection is unstable.
Oh, yeah, internet connection unstable. That's the second time I've seen that up there. Internet connection unstable. It, of course, left when you looked.
I'm trying to look on the screen to see it, but yes. So this is kind of a new experience. There's going to be some bugs, I believe, but I really like that the option is available now, and a lot of times we have petitioners and citizens who'd like to be here. So even if there's no commissioners, staff will be here to have the meeting run.
Dave, I was just going to add that comment too. I think it's a great opportunity for the community to get involved in these meetings where maybe they can't make it out on a night like this. To keep it hybrid, even if all the commissioners are here, I think is a fantastic thing for our community.
Yes, I agree.
Now, the notifications, they do include that now as well, that either here or online, both options?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
It seems to me that it's mainly to make sure that the community feels included in our meetings, and I think this is likely to make that so, except for this problem of cutout for any members of the community who decide to come in virtually rather than in person.
Right. Well, and I did hear some seconds from the Zoom, but they were seconds I heard after the people in person, which is why I went with them instead of the other seconds. So it's very possible I did hear you, because you guys are actually coming in very clearly. And I'm very much trying to slow down how fast I talk. But yeah, you guys are coming in
I
clearly.
don't know what, go ahead, Michael.
No, I don't think it's a matter of the talking fast or anything like that, it just, the
Oh.
audio cuts out
Oh,
every
okay.
other.
It's probably just the internet.
So it's nothing to do with how you're all talking, we can hear you all. It's just a matter of every few words, which does make it very difficult when you're explaining things, especially for the public. You know, it's this number of feet or something like that, and it cuts out. So I think we do need to make sure that's cleaned up a little bit.
Okay. Well, that's good.
And I'm glad you were trying to do something, Lisa, but I don't know what it was you were trying to do because I didn't hear that.
I don't even remember what I was talking about anymore. That was like that was a minute ago. I can't remember that.
Short-term memory.
Right. Oh no, but as far as I heard that you seconded one time, but it was after someone over here had already seconded. So
Oh, not to worry.
yeah.
And I have to apologize to the other members of the commission. I didn't even bother to look at the location on the agenda, assuming we were so.
Honestly, only because Jake had emailed saying like, "Oh, I'm going to be there," and I was like, "Oh, I guess I should probably be there too."
Guilted you into it, so, right?
But I look forward to being in person for the first time at some point here. So
Yeah, it'd be
thank
great
you
to,
for the option.
it'd be great to meet you in person.
I think bigger table.
Right.
We're missing 2 people and we only have 1 spot left. We didn't
Yeah.
wanna.
I think we usually someone sits at the end of it, like
Okay.
staff will
Oh,
sit at the
makes
end or
sense.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, I was just gonna, maybe, you know, as we're going through items, and if there's something that, you know, the community doesn't hear, or another member, like, just to slow down our motions on things, and make sure, you know, let the public know ahead of time, if they don't hear something, raise their hand, so we can be aware that maybe they didn't hear something they need to hear.
Right.
You know, and I know the floor is not open, so they can't interject, but just to let them know ahead of time, like raise your hand if there's something that, because then we'll notice that and then open the floor and maybe they can say, hey, I didn't hear that part of whatever you were just saying, so.
Yeah, and some things like just making sure we check the images up on the top before we move on.
Right.
See if there's anybody waving or, yeah.
I think actually, offering anybody on hybrid the option of raising their hand or signaling when they aren't here will be very helpful because it really needs to be repeated then. It's not a matter of going fast or slow. It's a matter of actually repeating what got missed. Isn't that right, Michael?
I agree, yeah, it's not a matter of the speed of talking.
Okay.
Another thing I don't know if it's possible for IT to look at is, we can't tell who's talking when in the room. I'm thinking for like the members of the public that are trying to figure that out. All we see is Dave right now, and we
Oh,
see
our
a very
names.
far away picture of the room. So,
All our
I mean, I don't know if
names.
they can zoom into the conference table even, that might be helpful, just to see who's there. But, that's, I leave that for IT. I mean,
I think it's weird.
it is what it is. I know it's virtual attendance. If they want to see, you know, we can have them come in person as well, of course. But I mean, if someone is looking, it is a little difficult to follow what's going on with the wide shot of the room.
Yeah, and what we'll do for the next meeting is we'll put out nameplates in front of everybody, so at least you'll have that. I don't know how big, so is the major picture on your screen me and not the room?
Yes, correct. I can see the room as a separate as a separate box
Okay.
on Zoom. However, we'll never see the nameplates for sure on Zoom. I can
Okay.
only see bodies and makeup.
Well-
I can't even tell really who's at the table. I just see bodies at a table very far away in the corner of the room, so,
Well, Michael, if you could try something for me right now while we're on here. There's 3 little dots up on the picture of the room on the right-hand
Yeah.
corner. Click on that and pin it. Should say pin.
click on, all I heard was click on it, but click on the pin.
Click on it and then it should say pin.
Which does, I suppose, I can make out who you are, but,
Okay.
but
Oh.
if you're
Yeah,
if you're switching though back and forth, like from slides and presentations, that's not gonna, well, anyway, if you zoom in a little bit, it would help, I think, with people who are unfamiliar with who's talking and everything.
Okay. Great suggestions.
We good? We got anything? Yeah, no? We don't- All right.
Good discussion.
All right, yeah, good discussion. All right, we'll get it figured out.
Yeah.
All right, and the date of the next meeting is November 28th, 2022.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Rubinski, second by Vice Chair Miller. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Hi.
All right, good night, everybody.
Wonderful.
Oh, now we're waving at the camera.
Yeah.